I'm hoping I can get away with playing some Aussie in the background because I'm pretty sure we're going off the rails on a crazy train. Just saying. So I've been kind of looking around, and it was actually Brandy that found this little tidbit, and I shared it on Facebook. It'll find most of the other vapors, I'm sure. My posts aren't finding anybody outside of the vape community unless I go into some sort of community group, and then I'm sure to find some arguments and stuff. I do have to say that I can appreciate people's concerns. Now, I'm talking about cause and effect. Something happened in the United States, and it scared the hell out of people. I understand people's concerns. Now, here's how I understand it. A cigarette, when you take a puff or you light it up, it really only puts out a little bit of smoke. You don't see a whole lot of it, right? But we've always known, for years and years and years, we've known that this shit's really bad for you and it's killing you and it hurts everybody, and it can have effects on, apparently it can have effects on adolescent brains and stuff. We know that this is bad for you. Now, when someone sees a vaporizer for the first time and they see double, triple, quadruple, or more amounts of vapor coming out, they equate that to cigarette smoke in the small amount that comes off the end of the cigarette to double, triple, quadruple amounts of toxicants, which toxins. I'm an idiot. So I completely understand. But it's not like that. You remember when you were a kid, back in the whatever, I'm not going to assume your age or gender, it's not what I'm here for, but you remember when you were a kid and you went to a concert and there was a smoke machine, a lot of people used to call it. They call it fog machines too, but it's the same stuff. It is the same thing, So back in high school, a few years ago for me, they had smoke machines, and they were actually starting to make them scented and flavored, or whatever you want to call it. And then eventually they did take them out of school dances, and as a matter of fact, my kids are in grade 8 and they don't have school dances. So yeah, things have changed. But at the end of the day, it boils down to what it is that you're seeing. When you see someone light up a cigarette and there's smoke coming off the end of it and they puff out a little bit of stuff, that is filled with bad stuff. We know that it's filled with bad stuff. I don't want to sit here and try and talk you into believing me because I'm no doctor. But maybe just listen. Talk to a vapor, talk to a vape shop, talk to a couple of different people who have been vaping for any amount of time and ask them how they feel after vaping. Don't ask the person that's only been vaping for 5 minutes trying to quit smoking, because they're going to be frustrated with life because they're still addicted to nicotine and everything else that's inside of a cigarette that keeps you addicted. So don't ask a vapor that's only been a vapor for like 3.5 minutes or three days or 3 weeks, because they're still trying to get a handle on it. Ask someone that's been vaping for a month or 3 months how they actually feel. Now, there is only this many chemicals, and we'll call them chemicals because everything is a chemical. H2O is a chemical. And for those of you that are a little fuzzy on this, H2O is water, right? It's a chemical. So we can call it all chemicals. So there is 4 known chemicals in e-liquid, right? This stuff right here. You know what's in this? Propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, flavoring, and in this one, there is nicotine. Now, these are things that we've been using for years and years and years in every different facet of life. You'll find it in, foods and cosmetics and anyways, you find it all over the place. But there's only 4, right? Last night I watched a YouTube video of how they make cigarettes, and I think it was produced by Philip Morris. Now, their typical statement was, there's no added nicotine. There's no added nicotine. There's no extra nicotine. As a matter of fact, we add so much shit to it that there is a little bit less nicotine than there was originally. It's not just nicotine that you're addicted to. I guarantee you that. Okay? Now, like I was saying, Brandy had done a little bit of research because we were looking for what kind of kickbacks our Canadian government gets from the tobacco companies. It was very unclear, looking at a whole bunch of different, Facebook or Google searches and all that stuff, but we did come across this one from the Financial Post. It was posted... Maybe I should have had a look at this before so that I could tell you exactly. But the headline is, Big Tobacco's legal woes in Canada pose its biggest risk in decades. Sounds scary for tobacco. Poor tobacco. So this was March 20th, 2019 at 12:34. It actually shows up in Bloomberg News. The world's largest tobacco... I'm just going to read like the first paragraph, and then if it interests you, it is on my Facebook page. It's on the Blue Vapes page, and I'm going to share it around a little bit because this kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. I mean, at this point, any of us vapors, we already understand that vaping is hurting the tobacco industry, and I feel terrible for them. No, I don't. The world's largest tobacco company suffered a legal setback in Quebec this month that drove 2 local cigarette makers into creditor protection. That may be the tip of the iceberg in Canada for British American Tobacco plc and offers facing separate government lawsuits seeking hundreds of billions of dollars. And then it goes on to talk about Philip Morris International and a local unit of Japan Tobacco Inc. They're all being sued. This has been done before. In the United States, it happened in, don't quote me, I think it's 1998. You get lots of numbers flying through my head, and I'm no lawyer. I'm not one of those guys. I'm just your typical average citizen with very little post-secondary education, and it certainly isn't in law. There is a slight bit of chemical background for me, but I'm not a scientist. That's not my thing. This happened in the United States. I believe it was 1998. It's called the Master Service Agreement, and it was an agreement between tobacco companies and certain states in the United States that stated tobacco's hurting people. And the American government doesn't want to stand for it anymore. So the tobacco company said, we want to keep providing these options for Americans in this case. So the only way to do that is to offset the cost that it's bringing to the healthcare system. So they came up with the Master Service Agreement. This is how it started. This. Right? I mean, the country's 3 most populated provinces alone have signaled combined claims of more than 500 billion with a B dollars. While such an amount would overwhelm the industry, analysts are predicting a similar outcome as the US, where tobacco companies negotiated smaller settlements that allowed them to stay in business. Governments generally prefer that consumers smoke and pay taxes on legal cigarettes rather than using contraband products. Vaping is safer. It won't hurt the fucking economy like cigarettes does. Wait a minute. Yes, it will. Because there's not $500 billion from the vape industry that the government can receive. See where I'm going with this? This fucking screws my head up a little bit. I know I've said that I've been trying to do 3-minute videos, but it's almost impossible to put my thoughts into 3 minutes. I hope that maybe one person every day watches some shit, watches me say some shit about this. Because maybe that one person, I can change that one person's mind every day. So I might have to do 7 million videos before I get my point fully across to the masses, but maybe that one person will tell another person, and so on and so forth. And together, we can show the public that there is options. Vaping is 95% safer than smoking cigarettes. I can't substantiate this by, giving you information. I can just tell you, I can't force you to read anything. I can't force you to look at clinical trials or whatever. I can't even try and convince it's not most of my family, but there is a deal of my family that just doesn't want to read into it. They've got this stigma in their head where, just quit. That's what you should do, is just quit. Just don't do it anymore. That's not how addiction works. So the best I can tell you is, I've been vaping for 7 years. I smoked for 15, almost 30 packs a day. Hell, when I laid down at night, I was wheezing and feeling like just not feeling good and looking for a way out. I found my vaporizer. Within about the first 3 months, that's where I started noticing huge differences. I can breathe again. Please, just think about it before you make any rash decisions. Before you've got your mind completely made up, think about it. Okay? Thanks. See you again tomorrow. 7 million videos. It's gonna take me a while, especially if I'm only doing one a day. Help me out here, guys. Share.